camping in Bangalore for a while now. Could you tell us how?
Yeah, it's been an excellent camp so far. I arrived on the 12th and with all the staff to have a couple of days of meetings, and then the local players started arriving in from the 14th onwards. And for me, it was actually really good because I got to spend a week with all the local players, get to know them really well on and off the field, get to know their games, and then the overseas players who had a very busy schedule with some matches in Australia against South Africa arrived in a few days ago, and the groups gelled really well together.
Fantastic. And Mithali, I've had the good fortune of covering some of your matches, and I think many of us would have loved to watch you pad up and probably go out to the pitch as well. But we've seen you do that a lot as an advisor and mentor of the team. So could you tell us a little bit about this new innings that you're playing for Gujarat Giants?
See, as a mentor, definitely primarily I work with the young players in the squad, share my experiences, because it's a big platform for the young players who come up the ranks through the domestic structure, and also sometimes with the senior players, because the platform is such that they can get overwhelmed, but to keep them in a good space and help them to give the outcome that we require as a franchisee to do well. So I'm definitely enjoying this new role. Yes, I might not be on the field, but I do get the bird's eye view. So I try and use that perspective and share a lot of info with the young players.
Fantastic. And from the first season, and if you could maybe shed some light on some of the grassroots programs perhaps in Gujarat, how has WPL kind of encouraged more women to come into the sport?
So from group perspective, the Adani group, the philosophy which we live up to is that growing the nation, building nation, growth with goodness. So women cricketing, it's taking a great shape, not only Gujarat but across the country. Even we run a couple of academies out there in Ahmedabad and Gujarat, and we see there is a huge traction which is now increased after the season 1. And we are very sure that the golden time of the women cricketing is yet to come, and then we are just at the beginning of this era, And then we at Gujarat franchise, we will ensure that we contribute our piece in that growth journey, and that's what we look forward.
Fabulous. And
there's a real excitement sort of vibe among the group at the moment. As Maxi alluded to, the group's been together for a little while now and worked through some things across the last week or so, which has been really nice to see come to fruition at training in the last couple of days. So there's a great sense of excitement and I guess anticipation for the first game. And I know that, the 11 that get the opportunity to play tomorrow night will take full advantage of that and put their best foot forward.
Right. So the team saw you practicing yesterday. There was so much energy. Tell us आपका जो experience रहा है गुजरात जायंट्स के साथ और इस सीजन में क्या अलग देखने को मिलेगा आपकी टीम के परफॉर्मेंस में?
एक्सपीरियंस तो काफ़ी अच्छा रहा है लास्ट टाइम से और अभी जो एटमॉस्फेयर है टीम का काफ़ी पॉजिटिव है एंड हम लोग काफ़ी अच्छे से जेल अप हो चुके हैं एंड वी आर होपिंग फॉर अ पॉजिटिव रिजल्ट.
At the start of last season, an unfortunate injury meant that you had to miss the entire season. So what went through your mind at that stage, and how are you feeling right now ahead of this WPL?
Yeah, obviously that was a pretty disappointing time for me on a personal note, and obviously for the team as well. I was really looking forward to the opportunity of playing in the first season of the WPL and leading the Gujarat Giants to hopefully a little bit of success, but that obviously didn't work out, and I can tell you I've done a fair few calf raises this week since I got here, so hopefully we avoid that again. But I'm just really excited to get started and get that first game under my belt, hopefully a full game this time around, and contribute to some success and involve myself a lot with the local players and impart some knowledge there. So whilst it was disappointing last year, I'm very grateful and lucky to be given an opportunity again to lead the team.
Your team was the one that kind of bought a lot of players at the auction in an attempt to sort of revamp the squad. But then right before the years, pull out because of an injury and etc. So just from the perspective of the mentor and the coach as well, how did that really sort of affect the tournament as much, or you kind of had a lot of backup plans in place?
Well, see, injury is something that nobody can foresee that somebody's going to get injured. We try and pick the best players, in who are going to fit into our composition of the team. But yes, to be very honest, Kashvi Gautam was very important for us in the mix of things. But again, it's a freak thing that she got injured and she had to pull out of the WPL. But we do have Sayali, who's done really well in the domestic structure, and she's been among wickets, and who also offers a bit of runs under lower order with her bat. So it's not like we do have our backup plans in place. We worked it out. This time around, we did have some days, as Maxi said, that to prepare well, and that has really helped us to put certain plans in place. And do you want to add something?
With the week training plan we had, we were able to set up, some scenarios to put, some of our players in certain roles that we think they may play during the tournament. And with the injuries, what that allowed us to do was make some decisions on, where players can fit into our team. And, an injury can also bring up an opportunity for somebody else. So we see that happening, and we have some depth there to cover for Kashvi. Kashvi, no doubt, would have been excellent, and she's still around the group now. We want to make sure that she feels belonged in this setup, because hopefully she'll be around in next year and in the future as well.
Hi, women's cricket over the last say 2-3 years at least. International cricket hasn't happened in Bangalore since 2016. So it's a new city, it's a new place. Meg Lanning the other said international cricket for 13 years. So how do you adapt to a new city, the vibe of the place, the change in venue as such?
You have to travel a lot of cities different times. So I think as a player इतना difficult नहीं होना चाहिए situation को adapt करने के लिए. And it's good कि different cities में WPL is happening, because we have fans all around, I think so now. So it's good for the people around also.
I think it's a different experience. Again, it gives you an opportunity of knowing, the Bangalore vibe, and also to, add more fan followers. You do well, you get a lot more people coming to watch you, and it increases your fan followers. So, in terms of as a player, I think it is the last game that we saw last night. I think it's a good track to bat on, and every player would love to bat in Chinnaswamy from the looks of the IPL. It's a lot of runs there, so all the batters would be loving to get an opportunity to play in Bangalore. But having said that, if WPL moves to every city, it also gives the franchisee to develop a new audience, come and watch. So it only will improve the profile of the tournament.
Tell us about the balance of your side, especially the batting order. Do you think you are a bit reliant on the overseas names compared to the Indian players?
Don't want to give out too many details yet to give out our plans, but we can play 4 overseas. What we do have is the luxury of having an associate player in Catherine Bryce, and she's a high quality player, one of Scotland's best players, and she'll certainly fit into our lineup. So in theory, we can play 5 overseas players with that. I suppose what we just need to decide is the balance of our batters versus our bowlers. But in terms of all overseas players that we have on our list, and one we'll have to miss, they're high quality. Like, we're talking about the best players in the world in our setup, which is something that is a luxury for us. We've got some seriously good high quality local Indian batters as well that had good tournaments last year. So, and we've recruited some good pace bowlers amongst our spin options. So I feel our team this year is really well balanced, and we actually have a few options in the way that we choose to go, whether we go batting heavy or add in some bowlers as well. So the flexibility is there throughout the tournament with our squad.
In tournaments like this around the world, there's a lot of talk about the overseas players, but the team that ends up winning their domestic players are very good players, and I think at Gujarat we've got the luxury of having some great local batters as well in Harley and Diol and Hema. So, and Veda Krishnamurthy is getting an opportunity again. So, I think that's really exciting for this group, because if there's an over-reliance on the overseas and internationals, they tend to fall away at the back end of the tournament in terms of the team dynamics. So I think we're really fortunate to have high-quality batting options in that top six, for sure.
For all of you, really. The squad, it comprises of a lot of different nationalities, a lot of different age groups. So there's a lot of amalgamation of cultures happening. So how do you ensure that a balance is struck and like the unit gels together well so that they can perform on the pitch? Because, like you said, sometimes.
I think, firstly, I've been offering up 6:30 a.m. gym sessions with some of the girls, and no one's taken me up yet. But there is always a bit of a language barrier and a cultural difference. But I think that's the exciting part of these tournaments is you can learn off each other and have new experiences and make new friendships. So, as I alluded to before about the local players, I think the team that gels the best ends up being at the top of the tree come the end of the round game. So, we've been working on a few different things behind the scenes to get the group working well together and, bridging that gap between the young players and the senior players and making sure everyone feels valued and supported in the environment.
And how the group's gelled. As you said, we've got difference in experience, and obviously with some overseas players coming in, but they've gelled really well. We've got a couple of new staff as well, so it's been really good for everyone to get to know each other. We've had some sessions away from cricket as well to help that and just get some team bonding going, and that's been great. So I couldn't be happy with how the teams gel together.
Local players, but the two teams that did well last season and reached the final, Mumbai Indians, they almost didn't use three of their players either in batting or bowling for Mumbai Indians, and everybody else except Saika Ishaq, who was used, were internationals. Same with Delhi, they have players who played international cricket more or less. So is there certain examples from some other leagues where the importance of these local players who have not played at that level, international level? Secondly, just wanted to know what were your learnings from the past season that you'll probably want to maybe.
Well, I don't think that's being overly fair to the local players here in India. I think they've got an extraordinary amount of talent. And the example you put up there was Ishaq, who played for Mumbai and ended up getting a go for India in recent times. So, I don't think that's very fair on the BCCI and the offerings that they're giving to these local players. I think whilst Delhi and Mumbai obviously have some great overseas players and great leaders, they've got some good local talent as well. I think Radha Yadav played last night and bowled pretty well for Delhi, and obviously Mumbai I've got Pooja Vastrikar as well, who plays a lot for India. So I think the local talent is the exciting part of this competition, and certainly in our team it is from my perspective. So you don't have to look too far outside of India to see that has an impact on the outcome of the games. And to your second point, I think obviously I wasn't here for very long last year, but I did spend a little bit of time at home watching the games, and I guess they're high scoring games now in T20 cricket for the girls. So it's just about making sure you can manage that as much as possible when you're bowling and not, feeling too under the pump with the bat and knowing that you can catch up as much as you can at the back end. So, everyone will learn that differently along the way and have different experiences and situations presented to them. But I guess the importance is making sure that everyone feels like they can contribute and learn from each situation and get better every time they walk out there.
How would you see the build-up to this edition of the WPA? What difference would you see?
So I think the difference is that the season one, which was a new first season for the Gujarat in terms of the WPL, we as a franchise, this was our first, national, international level franchise in the cricketing tournament. So initially, it took some time to build out the connection out there because the entire season was held out there in Bombay. Right, in the last over a year or so, we have done a lot of local tournaments. We have built those connect with the locals through our academies, local tournaments, grassroots activities. So we see now a huge connect followership out there in Gujarat for Gujarat Giants.
Yeah, so my question is to Catherine Bryce. You spoke about her, but was that sort of a thing going into the auction, picking an associate player so that you could have an added advantage? And what does Bryce bring to the table?
I'll start with Phoebe. So the great thing about Phoebe is she's flexible from 1 to 6. So we've got a lot of options with her. You know, we can throw her up top if we want, you know, high impact up top, and we can use her through the middle because she's so strong and plays 360 degrees to all the bowlers. So her position will probably depend a little bit on where we see the strengths of some of the other players, but she's certainly a key player for us and someone we know throughout the tournament we can be quite flexible with. And the Catherine Bryce one, in terms of the auction, there was no doubt that we felt she was someone who could give us more flexibility, increase the strength of having another all-rounder in there who can do both, you know, both skill sets really well, and gives us a little bit more depth with our batting as well. So she's been training excellently. You know, she's one of the major players for her international team in Scotland, and I think by doing that, she's always under pressure when she plays back home, and that's going to help her, I think, in these situations in the WPL.
दूसरा क्वेश्चन है कि इस साल आप बेथ को क्या बोलना चाहोगी about being a captain? The experience of being a captain in the WPL. How would you want to prepare her for being a captain in the WPL?
सी फर्स्ट ऑफ ऑल जब फर्स्ट सीजन में मैंने कैप्टनसी करी थी, आई थिंक वो कैप्टनसी का रोल मैं पहले वो रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी ले चुकी हूँ, तो इतना बहुत ज़्यादा मुश्किल हुआ नहीं. बट येस, बिकॉज बहुत सारी कंट्रीज से प्लेयर्स थे, तो उनकी स्ट्रेंथ्स को जानना और उस तरीके से उनको यूज़ करना, आई थिंक वो थोड़ी लर्निंग थी मेरे लिए भी पर्सनली. एंड बेथ को मतलब हमारी टीम में बहुत सारे डोमेस्टिक प्लेयर्स हैं जो अनकैप्ड प्लेयर्स हैं और बहुत सारे यंगस्टर्स हैं, तो उनकी स्ट्रेंथ्स और हम उनको कैसे यूज कर सकते हैं, आई थिंक आई कैन डिस्कस इट विद दैट.
If there's a question you want to ask her, or maybe you've already asked her.
Well, obviously it wasn't the greatest campaign for us, and it's never easy getting thrown into the deep end in a role like this. And you know, I'm under no illusions to the fact that I haven't done a lot of it in recent times. I did a lot as a young kid, but I think it doesn't take much to look around this room and see the experience that sits next to me in leading teams and leading organisations. So I certainly will be asking a lot of questions of everyone, and I'm not the type of leader that it's my way or the highway. I think a collaborative approach in these tournaments is really important in getting buy-in from every single player and every single staff member. So, you know, from my point of view, if I can make everyone feel valued and try and get the best out of each person, whether they're a coach, a player, a local player, an Indian player, then I consider that to be a successful tournament as a leader.
How do you keep your team members motivated always? Is there any team mantra that you guys follow?
Yes. I think it's more just about we have players from different backgrounds, players who are domestic cricketers, international cricketers. So I like to keep our program quite individualised as well, because you know, everyone has different ways of going about it. So we try to keep everyone really trained specifically for their roles, and basically trying to get them as better players over the 4 or 5 weeks that they're here. So if we're doing that well, then that's going to keep them motivated. We need a really nice blend of hard work and rest, because this tournament gets really busy. And so far, I think we've done that well. When we've trained with high intensity, but then we've given some rest periods to make sure when we do come out and train again, that continues. And that's going to be the case for the tournament as well, because we only have 1 day off between games or 2 days off between games. So the mixture of rest and coming out and playing with high energy and high intensity on match days is what we really need to keep balanced, so they do keep out coming out and playing with that sort of intensity.
Mike, can
So we have time for one last question, please.
But Mike and Mithali came out with the mantra for the season. They have given a mantra to the team and they call it the Giants way. There are 4 pillars which both of them have introduced to the team. That keep it simple, open communication, whether it's win, loss or a draw. Keep the momentum same and learn from the mistake and improve. So this time the mantra of we called it the Giants way because in a tournament like this, it's a competitive tournament. Ups and downs will keep on coming in. So the more we keep it simple and straightforward, it is better for the overall atmosphere of the team.
Last question. Go ahead.
Well, I would not say entirely, but yes, having an associate member definitely adds a lot to the team. And as I said, we do have Shabnam, who's a fast bowler, the young speedster. Then you have Geeta, who's an experienced, and even Meghna Singh, who's coming this season for us, is an experienced campaigner, and Sayali we've taken. So we do have the options in terms of our pace battery to fill in that. Yes, it would have been lovely to have Ashmi, but again, as I said, because it's a long domestic season and then we get into this tournament, it's even in IPL you get a lot of players who get ruled out because of the injury. You can't really help. It's an unfortunate thing for a young player like now, a very talented all-rounder. But yes, we do have other players, and Mike and the other support staff has worked on other players to give them the role clarity which is required, which the franchisee expects them to perform. So it's not like, it definitely alters a little bit, not so much that we are worried about.
To reduce the anxiety and stress, do you have yoga sessions and pranayama sessions?
Yeah, we do this time around. We've got a wellness coach who's working closely with the support staff as well as with the players.
Considering this is the ICC Women's World Cup T20 year, how important our performance is going to be in WPL, particularly for the youngsters to kind of put their hand up and say we are also in the reckoning for a place in the squad perhaps?
And it also gives an opportunity for the young players to come into selectors' eye, because clearly the selectors definitely will be looking forward to seeing some a new talent in this tournament. And it's a great opportunity for just not the young players, but even the seasoned players who want to make a comeback. This is the platform for them to showcase their potential and their talent.
Mithali said, I think WPL is a major tournament for the youngsters and as well as for us also to be picked for the World Cup team or for Webbles. I think if we'll perform here, I think ये बहुत सारे gates खोल देता है players के लिए आगे आने वाले tournaments के लिए, and because next year भी अभी बहुत सारे World Cups आने वाले time पे, so I think we'll be ready.
Yes, for your campaign this year. Thank you very much. Sir, if we could just have you all. Members of the